I'll check in the care, thank you.
This is a view from the front line of policing that the government has pledged to enhance with what they call the largest reforms since the founding of the police. This means action on serious organised crime would fall into the remit of a new national service, and smaller forces being merged into regional units the government say will prioritise community policing. But among those plans is a major concentration of power and a nationwide rollout of surveillance technology and artificial intelligence.
Communities are facing an epidemic of everyday crime that all too often seems to go unpunished, and criminals know it. Taken together, these reforms will put the right policing in the right place. An elite national force will tackle nationwide crime, regional forces will conduct specialist investigations, and local policing will tackle the epidemic of everyday crime.
The Home Secretary's plans will create the National Policing Service she's called Britain's FBI. The body will merge the College of Policing, the National Crime Agency, and counter-terrorism. In these plans, small forces face amalgamation. The government say the 43-force model is no longer fit for purpose. Some forces are too small to handle complex investigations or major incidents. In their new plans are powers for the Home Secretary to intervene in the policing system where necessary, and reintroduce power for the Home Secretary to remove a Chief Constable. This is one of the cases cited for where the Home Secretary would have used those powers. This month, the former West Midlands Police Chief Craig Guilford retired following national pressure over intelligence errors in the decision to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from attending a game in Birmingham. But this example raises concerns, as despite police mistakes, the facts of the ban remain contested, with some local support expressed. Some now believe new political powers in an era of divide could compromise independent policing. For now, the focus turns to police leaders as they form a convoy of support for reforms promising to put more bobbies on the beat by replacing local police bureaucracy with a national one. Where is the evidence that ultimately centralising power will lead to less phone thefts, will lead to less crimes at a local level?
This is not a centralisation of power, this is a simplification of decision making. It's a means by which we can make sure that every pound of taxpayers' money is spent on good operational services, and at the moment there's too much duplication in the system.
What I can't say, because the funding that sits around these conversations is not clear, is what the overall mix of our workforce will be, or the overall numbers. And we should be really clear, the Met has been shrinking. You know, so part of the change which we have driven out in London, and part of the change we're talking about nationally, is to be even more efficient. But we're doing that under strain, and we're doing it under the strain of an organisation that has got smaller.
This is the concern of these reforms, that despite plans to redeploy 12,000 officers in backroom roles onto the streets, police numbers may still be squeezed. And as the review into the restructure starts, so too may the battles from smaller frontline forces facing closure.
Simeon Brown there. Well, a short while ago, I spoke to the Policing Minister, Sarah Jones. I pointed out that people are far more interested in getting the police to come to their house quickly when they've been burgled than getting a British version of the FBI.
We absolutely have to make sure that people have the response that they expect from their police in their local neighbourhoods, which is why we have already committed to 13,000 extra police in our neighbourhoods, and why that is the bedrock of these reforms.
People want to know when this is going to happen. It's years and years away, isn't it?
So the reform starts now. We've already put 2,400 extra police in our neighbourhoods. That's already done. Every part of the country has a named officer in their local community. That is already done, that they can contact. And there is a lot of work underway across the police forces. But you're right, everybody in every part of the country needs this change.
And I'm right, it will take years.
And what we are saying is we need to standardise what we expect, because there are some parts of the country doing brilliant things on retail crime, other parts not so much. We need to make sure it's happening across the country, and we will be doing that.
To meet their commitment, for example, where if it's a serious incident, they're supposed to respond in towns in 15 minutes and in rural areas in 20 minutes. Give people a deadline for that.
These things we want to deliver this side of the election before then, and some of these things we're already delivering in terms of neighbourhood crime.
Okay, one of the criticisms is that, you know, these bigger forces actually become more remote from local communities. They don't understand local communities. What would you say to people who make that point?
So we're learning from other parts of the world, other parts of the country. Northern Ireland and Scotland have one police force. We've learnt the lessons.
And it took a very long time
some
to
of
settle
it,
in Scotland.
It didn't work.
It was a very bumpy road.
And some of it did work. I think the lesson from Scotland is you've got to be hyper-focused on the local all the way through.
We spoke to the Met Commissioner just a few weeks ago, and he told us extraordinarily that they are arresting people who are being charged, and the court date isn't until 2030.
Well, we are dealing with huge challenges in that space, as you know, that we inherited from the last government. Prisons overflowing, huge court delays. We know that there's court reform coming. We know that we are tackling that challenge, and absolutely people need to see justice at pace, which is why my colleagues in the Ministry of Justice are reforming the way that we do that.
And just very briefly, a lot of people have a lot of concerns about increased powers from a Home Secretary. We saw the last couple of years where policing has become a really divisive issue. How do you convince people that this is not going to make things worse?
Well, I think most people would be surprised in the recent case that we had, for example, in the West Midlands, that the Home Secretary didn't already have those powers. They were taken away under the last government. They were there previously. We're going to put them back. It has to be the right balance.
Because it's the politicisation that people worry about.
The police need to be operationally independent, but it is right that the government, on behalf of taxpayers, we are spending a lot of taxpayers' money in our policing system. It is absolutely right that we have the levers that we need to ensure we can drive improvements.
Very quickly, sorry, on Andy Burnham. I mean, who is Keir Starmer more afraid of? A popular Andy Burnham or a popular Nigel Farage?
Keir Starmer's not afraid of anything. I think we saw that last week with the way that he was very clear in standing up to the President, whether it's on the remarks that he made, the appalling remarks that he made about our troops, or whether it was what should be right in terms of... I think a lot of MPs in a lot of parts of the country have said this is the right decision. It was a difficult decision for the NEC to make. They were balancing up some difficult issues, but we have got a large election in Scotland, election in Wales, adding to that the equivalent of 20 by-elections in Greater Manchester. At this point in time, with the resources that we've got and the focus that we need to have on those elections, that was the choice that they made, and I think it's the right decision. And now we, I think, can all hopefully carry on talking about policing and the issues that the country care about.
If reform in the seat, will this have been a mistake?
We've just fired the starting gun, and we are fighting to win. I absolutely expect we will.
And no U-turn on this?
On whether we're going to win, no.
Sarah Jones, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.